Sponsored by Buffalo Hypnosis. And now, from the beautiful studios of WBEN, here's Robert.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Robert Saviola Show. My name is Eric Polanski. I'm with the Free Group, a local anti-globalization group. You can reach us at free-group.com. Today we have a good show for you. Sheriff Richard Mack from... Now, Sheriff, you're with me. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Well, thanks. I'm doing really great, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Now you were a sheriff in Arizona, and
Yes.
You live in Texas now.
Yes.
You were involved in a political campaign, correct?
Well, I was. I just finished that up. I lost in the primary to Lamar Smith, who is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, and he's a very powerful politician. He's considered one of the top 10 most powerful in, I guess, the country. And so it was kind of like running against John McCain. I say John McCain because I'm from Arizona. And but anyway, I thought we had a lot of positive things happen to us during the campaign, but it was kind of a stretch. You know, I just had moved to Texas, and we'd only been here about 8 months when I filed, and people just, I guess, didn't catch on to what we were trying to do, and I only raised about $75,000, and my opponent raised $1.5 million. And so he has a lot of things going for him. It's really hard to beat an incumbent these days, even though the anti-incumbent sentiment is really strong out there. People mean it for somebody else and not for their guy. So I learned a lot, and now I'm getting back to work on things that really do matter, and I think the solutions that are available to us today are very few, and I'm working on those.
Yeah, I've been following you for a few years, and you're a very positive guy. You attract positive people. You're doing great things for the country, for the freedom movement, and one of them is Oath Keepers. Can you tell us a little bit about Oath Keepers, please?
Well, I'm on the board of directors for Oath Keepers, and the Oath Keeper movement is something that I was a part of way back in 1994. When I was sheriff, I was the first sheriff in the United States, and in fact in American history, to file a lawsuit against the federal government. And at the time, it was the Clinton administration, because I took the oath very seriously. And the federal government came in to Arizona, as they did to a lot of states, and they said that the sheriffs would have to comply with the Brady Bill and conduct criminal history background checks and mental history background checks on everybody who wanted to purchase a handgun. Well, sometimes that strikes people as a little bit innocuous, or even some people agree with that. Well, I didn't. And first and foremost, your sheriff works for the people of his. He does not work. Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. The sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer anywhere in the United States, and absolutely is the only one in your county. And therefore, his role is a little bit different, and it makes him extremely powerful in that sense, because he reports directly to the power source, we the people. And so Oath Keepers is a group that believes that the most important job that any public official has, and that means a police officer, it means a county commissioner, and it certainly means the sheriff, has an obligation to keep his oath of office. And when I was a cop back in the early 80s, I became very disenchanted with police work because of the oath of office. I didn't see anywhere where anyone kept the oath. we all swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I started asking, is there any evidence that anyone in government actually keeps their oath? Why do we swear an oath and then summarily ignore it?
Sheriff, that's a really good question.
I would like every public official to answer the question. How do you keep your oath?
Well, let's talk about that the next segment. We're going to a commercial break. We're with Sheriff Mack, Sheriff Richard Mack from Texas. You can reach him at sheriffmack.com. Thank you. Be right back. Hello, welcome back to the Robert Saviola Show. We are with Sheriff Richard Mack, who is also an author. He's written the book, The Magic of Gun Control, and the book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. Sheriff, we were talking about Oath Keepers coming out of the last segment. Now you are the president or the director of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association at CSPOA. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We formed that about a year and a half ago. And it's very similar to Oath Keepers, but we also take it a step further in that we should, as sheriffs in this country, stand hopefully unitedly, against any of the incursions of the federal government. It makes no sense to me whatsoever for a sheriff or any other public official to tell the people, we are here to serve you. We will help you in any way we can. The sheriff could say, I'm the conservator of the peace. I will protect your property and life and your pursuit of happiness here in this county. Oh, but I won't do anything if it's government that's trying to steal your property or ruin your life or ruin your business. I find that of very little significance. When we swear an oath, a lot of times it says to protect the Constitution from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So we don't get to pick and choose who we protect you from. We have to just protect you from what is happening to you. So it's a matter of what, not who. So if the federal government comes in, like the EPA destroys so many businesses and jobs every year because of their ridiculous regulations. And what I have been just absolutely shocked about in my research and in my experiences with the federal government is that they actually believe that their bureaucratic policies, the EPA, the FDA, the Department of Education, Homeland Security, TSA, on and on and on. I mean, we could go through hundreds of them. They actually believe that their bureaucratic policies supersede and are superior to the Bill of Rights. And let me make this very clear. They're not. So, like the EPA thinks that they can just come in, and FDA and USDA and all these others, they think that they can just come in and do spot inspections on your property without due process, without warrants. And all of that is illegal and unlawful and protected by the Bill of Rights. And so even some judges, though, will say, oh, yeah, they can do that. Well, why can they? Because they made a policy. Well, we have a policy, too. It's called the Bill of Rights. I have the right to be secure in my papers, effects, and homes, and they have to follow the rules just like everybody else. And so to make exemptions for bureaucracies, like they don't have to go along, is ridiculous. And in my lawsuit, it states very clearly that the federal government does not have the authority to tell us what to do, that they are not our boss, that the states are not subject to federal direction, that the states are sovereign. You know, New York was one of the 13 original states who formed the federal government. We formed the federal government. We delegated to them a few and discrete enumerated powers.
You know, that's right. I think I read that in one of your books, Sheriff.
Yes.
Where basically they cannot They cannot have any authority that we do not have to give. And if we can't do these things, then nor should they be doing them.
That is absolutely correct. And what's wonderful about my Supreme Court case is it reinforces that very principle. And it's there. I mean, you can see it. You can see that on my website at sheriffmack.com. You can also learn more about the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, the CSPOA, at cspoa.org. So you can get that link also on my website at sheriffmack.com. You can get any of my books there. And there's also contact information there if anyone would like to have me come out and speak in your area. And I would love to be to Buffalo. I've come to Buffalo. I've never been there before in my life. There's very few places that I really wanted to go that I haven't been to. And Buffalo is definitely one of them. I've never been to Niagara Falls, and I would love to come there sometime, preferably before it gets too cold.
Well, hey, you sacrifice a little bit of comfort for beauty in the winter.
Yes, exactly.
Sheriff, there's also something that you're involved in called the County Sheriff Project, and that's a countysheriffproject.org. I think if you were to come to Buffalo, well, first of all, let's say this: if there's anyone out there that would like the good sheriff, Sheriff Richard Mack, to visit Western New York, you are more than happy to contact us at thefreegroup.com. That's free-group.com. You can get involved in the planning. You can get involved by donating any way that you would like to help. We also would like to have Sheriff into town, and especially we would like to set something up where it's a free event for sheriffs and deputies of Western New York, because we know that you are on the right track with your message. It's the freedom message. It's the Constitution, which cannot be usurped. However, it is just a piece of paper. Sheriff, how do you go about defending the rights when it's just a piece of paper? How much can it really protect you?
Well, the piece of paper is exactly that, and the entire Constitution is rather meaningless if we don't have people that are standing and preserving it. The reason that we take an oath is that the Founding Fathers required it in Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. We're required by the supreme law of the land to swear allegiance to the Constitution. They did this so that each branch of government, judiciary branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch would all have the same goal and work towards this ultimate goal of preserving the Constitution. We have lost our way on that. We don't do that anymore. We have replaced the Constitution with political correctness and bureaucratic policies. And we've got to get back to that. My Supreme Court decision said that the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Well, that's what we have replaced the Constitution with: good ideas and good intentions, and we'll take care of you, and we'll supply entitlements and education and clothes and food and whatever else you need, government will provide you. And we set up roadblocks, and now we literally, in America, everywhere, we have these administrative checkpoints and roadblocks, and we check your papers before you're allowed to go on your way, just like Nazi Germany. And we think it's fine now here that we could do such a thing. And it's not okay. And we've got to get back to those basic fundamental principles that our country was founded upon. And if we allow our Constitution to be recklessly destroyed, especially by those in power who promise to preserve it, if we allow it to be destroyed, we destroy the foundation of America. And I've never built anything. I'm not an architect or never been in construction, but I know one thing. If we allow the foundation to be destroyed, the rest of America will fall. And we've got to wake up to this before it's too late. And what I'm talking about is a peaceful process. If we want to keep this freedom movement peaceful, then we've got to have local officials, especially sheriffs, who are the ultimate law authority in the county. And that's being eroded also, and sometimes flat out destroyed, like the state of Connecticut got rid of sheriffs entirely. And to place bureaucrats in charge of law enforcement
Right.
destroys the Republican form of government we were guaranteed with.
Well, Sheriff Mack, we have just 30 seconds left. Is there anything else that you would like to say? You're sheriffmack.com.
Yeah, everybody can get a hold of me there. My office line that you just called is 830-307-3019. And anybody that would like to get a hold of me, just email me, sheriffmack@hotmail.com. And that's real easy to remember. But please get involved. Do something to help America. This is the time to put politics aside and do what's best for America. And let's save our Constitution. Let's save our freedom and liberties. And I would love to come out there anytime, and I thank you so much for having me on today.
God bless you, sir. We love you in Buffalo, and we'll talk to you soon, I hope. Everybody listening to WBEN Radio 930 and 107.7 FM, thank you very much. Be right back.
Yes, it's me, Robert Saviola, for another segment here on the show. And you just listened to Sheriff Mack. Bernie Mac, he's on the other side now. But anyway, Sheriff Mack had a lot of good things to say, interesting things to say. I personally think that the sheriff should voluntarily deputize thousands of people in the areas that each sheriff is presiding over. Because if you did this, and I was talking to you, Eric, earlier before the show, if each state had even 10,000 volunteer deputies, that would be 500,000 people that are ready to move at a moment's notice to defend our land and liberty from our own government if need be. Now, does that sound like a plausible, scenario for you?
Oh, yes, sir, Robert. Very much so.
And I think that each sheriff should do it. And any sheriff that's not willing to deputize American citizens to protect their own, homes and lifestyles should not be sheriff. If you're not going to do what the job says you're supposed to do, and the sheriff role is more important than any other role, because they are the last bastion between us and a government that can enslave us. You look at pictures of gun control and what it's done for people. Well, I'm going to talk about Fast and Furious with Ann Coulter, what she had to say earlier this week. Also, I want to talk about the amount of guns that kill people in a year is it's like 8,000 something. People die by guns, right? And they want gun control. Well, 4 times that, over 32,000 people a year are killed by cars. But there's no control on cars. So this is something that isn't just about, your safety. It's about whether or not you're vulnerable for control even more. Fast and Furious is not a D.C. law firm, Ann Coulter wrote a couple of days ago, and I like Ann Coulter. And if you haven't read it, here's what she had to say. She said most Americans don't care about whether Attorney General Eric Holder is hiding Fast and Furious documents because they don't understand the story. Until someone can tell us otherwise, there is only one explanation for why President Obama's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives gave thousands of guns to Mexican drug dealers. It's to put guns in their hands to strengthen liberals' argument for gun control. So understand this. The President of the United States and Eric Holder took thousands of guns, put them in our enemy's hands so that we can be looked at as a nation that needs to be controlled on their guns. Now, precisely because this is such a jaw-dropping accusation, criminality at the highest level of government to score a political point, Republicans refuse to make it. But the problem with Republicans in discussing the scandal is that as soon as they start talking about subpoenas and dates and documents, TV channels change across America. See, they're never going to get answers unless they first explain to the American people why it matters. Liberals have been dying to reinstate the so-called assault weapons ban, but they haven't been able to for political reasons. Now, if you want more on that, go back to the 1994 congressional election. But a typically idiotic Democratic scheme, the assault weapons ban, prohibited the sale of semi-automatics that are operationally indistinguishable from deer rifles, but look scary to liberal women. And that's true. And that's why this happens. It sounds like it's such a small-minded comment, but man, there's a lot more depth in it than it seems to be. First, the Democrats tried lying about how American guns were being found in the hands of the Mexican drug dealers while demanding a renewal of the assault weapons ban. Obama had barely unpacked at the White House when he and high-level administration officials and Senate Democrats, Holder, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Chuck Schumer, New York, started railing about how our lax gun control laws were putting guns in the hands of Mexican drug cartels. In 2010, even Mexico's president, Felipe Calderon, demanded that the United States reinstate the assault weapons ban on the grounds that Mexican drug violence was directly linked to the law's repeal. Now, the claim was preposterous for many reasons, including the fact that the type of and quantity of armaments being used by Mexican drug cartels can be obtained only from places such as North Korea, China, Russia, Venezuela, and Guatemala. You can't even buy those guns here. The notion that the most guns used by Mexican drug gangs came from the U.S. was a lie, exposed on about 1 million gun blogs and on Fox News. So then the Obama administration did exactly what Democrats have been falsely accusing American gun sellers of doing. They themselves put American guns in the hands of Mexican drug cartels so they can make their lie a truth. The only explanation for Fast and Furious is that it was a program to prop up a losing gun control argument. The Waco and Ruby Ridge raids were monstrous, but at least they had made sense as simple screw-ups. Number one, the ATF's budget was about to be cut, and it needed to show some showy raids. Number two, law enforcement officials detest private gun ownership on principle, or more many of them do anyway. There is no conceivable law enforcement objective to giving Mexican drug dealers thousands of untrackable guns. It's not even fun for the agents, like an armed raid on a private home. If there's some other explanation, Holder isn't telling. While Republicans refuse to state this clearly because they can't prove it. Instead, they just keep chattering about the documents that haven't been turned over and subpoenas that haven't been answered. This is why it gets interesting. You see, did Democrats wait for a smoking gun to accuse Karl Rove of treason before revealing Valerie Plane's identity as a CIA agent? It turned out Rove didn't reveal it, and it wouldn't have been a crime if he had. Did they wait for proof to accuse Senator John McCain of committing adultery? They had none. And yet the story ran on the front page of the New York Times. Did they have any evidence before accusing the entire Republican House leadership of complicity in Mark Foley's creepy emails to young male interns? Can you see if you can guess, and take all the time you need. Feel free to call one of your lifelines if necessary, because they didn't have any proof. Liberals just make wild-eyed accusations and demand Republicans prove themselves innocent. Say whatever happened to Karl Rove's trial. Oh, you know what? Say whatever happened to Karl Rove's trial for treason for outing Valerie Plame. Did anybody call Lawrence O'Donnell and check on that? Because nothing happened. This is just another government control program gone bad. It's not like a $300 ashtray or stimulus money fraud or Solyndra or Van Jones. It isn't about the story about some government officials refusing to testify. It isn't even about the story about an American dying as a result of a government program, as outrageous as that is. Yes, Brian Terry died at the hands of Mexicans using a Holder-provided American gun. Pat Tillman died. Ron Brown died. People sometimes die as a result of government screw-ups. Fast and Furious, though, is far worse, and this is why. Innocent people dying was the objective of Fast and Furious. Innocent people dying was absolutely the objective of Fast and Furious. They knew what they were doing. This is not collateral damage. So our own liberals in the administration took American guns, thousands of them, gave them to an evil drug cartel, just so that Americans would be killed and they could say we need to get rid of guns out of Americans so they themselves can do the killing. It would be as if the Bush administration had implemented a covert operation to dump a dangerous substance to help women die in Planned Parenthood while giving abortions, resulting in hundreds of women dying just to give pro-lifers an argument about how dangerous abortion clinics are. And this is why Fast and Furious is so bad. But yet, the Americans don't know about it. The news won't report it unless you listen to Fox News, and even then you don't get the whole story. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about Nixon's Watergate, where Nixon was impeached and left office, but we're talking about it on a scale of 1,000 times worse at least. And that's all I have to say about that. What are your feelings, Eric?
Well, Robert, a few things that you said. Well, first of all, now I'm not one to believe in coincidences here, but we do have a case of another coincidence, because if you look into it, every time their gun laws are on the ropes, there happens to be some sort of maniac who shoots people. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but it's just happens to benefit their movement when stuff like that happens. Second of all, I see that we're giving guns to Mexicans and then we're taking them out of Americans' hands. I don't get the picture there. It's a little spooky, especially knowing how porous that border is. If they're only catching one out of how many, then how many for the weapons? And that's just really baffling. It's 1984 and 2012. That's my opinion. Anything else, Robert, before we wrap it up?
Well, we're at the end of the show. Another great show.
Yes, sir. Great show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Eric Polanski here with Robert Saviola on the Robert Saviola Show, WBEN Radio 930 and 107.7 on the FM. Thanks. Goodbye.